Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. We got the midweek edition of the Pocket Change Market Report for you guys to peruse over, and we got a good one here for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Sean, with BlueRidgeSilverhound, and I want to personally thank you guys for taking time out of your day to check out what's new, what's selling on the secondary market, most specifically eBay, because that's kind of like the go-to place to buy and sell your coins today. Well, the market is still strong, and I'll be absolutely honest, this report has a couple really interesting breakthrough coins that we're going to talk about. Now, if you're not familiar with the Pocket Change Market Report, we talk about errors, varieties that have been found out there in Pocket Change, coin rolls from the bank. Perhaps if you're an avid cherry picker and you like to frequent local coin shops and shows, that's another great place to find some of these coins on the list. But most importantly, these are all coins that are raw. They're ungraded. What's the use of sending some of these coins that are worth $20, $30, $40, $50, send them off to PCGS or NGC, these top tier grading companies, spend upwards of $100 to attribute an error, come to find out that your coin is still worth $20, $30, $40, $50. Sometimes it really just doesn't make any sense, but the good news is when it comes to collecting and selling and buying errors and varieties, they all kind of speak for themselves. All right, they're like fingerprints. You know what they are. Therefore, you can buy them as it is. The only thing that the grading actually does is protect you in the event that the coin has been cleaned or something to that effect. But generally with error coins and variety hunting and collecting, you don't have to worry about that, and neither does the buyers. The buyers will buy whatever they need to buy to fulfill a need in their collection. Now, we are coming up to the holidays. As you can see, September 22nd is the date of this particular video. We're already 2/3 of the way through the month of September, and what does everybody need before Christmas? A little bit of extra spending money, right? This might be the best way that you could help contribute a little bit of extra money to your funds, is to simply go out and buy some bank rolls, to go to a coin shop, find stuff that maybe the dealers have overlooked, and make some money. That's what we do. That's what I, kind of preach to everyone the same time every year. And I invite you to kind of take that challenge up, because this is real money. These are all confirmed sales within the last 24 to 36 hours. I do this report twice a week. It used to be for one time a week, but we do it twice. And the big reason is there's a lot of stuff that we do miss in the middle of the week, but that's why it's here. And that's why I'm here, because you guys deserve it. So let's go ahead and jump into the first set of listings right from eBay, again from the last day and a half. These are all seller images. And we're going to go ahead and start it off with a coin that I would say most people need to look for if they like to search for silver in half-dollar rolls. And it's this one here. This coin is not silver. However, this coin is worth as much as silver. It's a 1982 P Kennedy half-dollar. As you guys know, there's a major variety here, and this one has it. It's missing the FG initials right here where I have my mouse pointer. All a casualty of a braided die, so that's an over-polishing of that area. As you can see, even affected the wing or the tail feathers of the heraldic eagle, and also the shield seems a little bit weak. So that was a common problem for 1982. This example, not the prettiest, circulated, but it did sell for $17.89. If you were going to equate that to what silver 90% half dollars would go for, that's 2 whole silver half dollars, 90%, and then some. So, yeah, do not overlook these guys. This is a good coin to find, and they generally sell for around $7-8 depending on condition, and they go up from there depending on how nice they are. And here's another one too that some people would kind of overlook or toss back. It's the 1976D. To some, this will look like damage, but what we have here is really a curved clip. All right, so that's what you see right here. And you also have some of that Blakesley effect on the opposite side of the clip, where it's simply just a flattening of that area. So the rim, some of the letters will show and exhibit some of that flattening area. But this is another good one to find, and it's a Denver, so it's even more tougher to find any sort of errors from this mint facility. This example sold for $10. I mean, come on. It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but I would definitely trade this for a $10 bill all day long. All the little deals add up to something greater. And again, if you're looking to cobble together $300-400 between now and the holidays, this is going to be one of those kind of price point coins that you're going to have to take advantage of. Here's our first off-center struck coin of the group. It's a 1999 Lincoln Memorial Cent. It is one of the more common dates to find the off-center strikes. They seem to be very common between 1998 and 2001. Although this one is in tremendous shape, you don't see a lot of carbon spotting, any sort of zinc rot or anything like that on this coin. Just a really good example. It's off-center by about 15%, and this one sold for $21.49. So this is definitely one of the more higher priced 98 to 2001 off-center coins that I've seen in a little while. And here's another good one to look out for, even if you're coin roll hunting half dollars. But another place to find this particular coin, this variety, this 1974D Kennedy half dollar, doubled die obverse. It's also the FS101 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. There was a close-up of some of that doubling in the motto, "In God We Trust," and even the 4 of the date. You can see it right here. But these can also be found in mint sets. So if, again, dealers will generally overlook stuff like this. Some dealers, from my knowledge, don't even know that these can be found in a standard Denver mint set. But there you go. This is going to be the best way to find some of those high-grade specimens. How much does a high-grade specimen of the FS101 go for, you ask? How about $85? That's how much this one sold for, and that's easy money. Now this is neat. This is a 1996 P Roosevelt dime that exhibits a pretty nice and very huge broad strike. A broad strike occurs when the coin is being seated into the striking chamber before it's struck, and there is a collar that retracts up and down that holds the coin in place during the striking process. If that collar malfunctions and it does not flip up to seat the coin in, then the metal flow will have to pancake out. So this is what kind of like the result that you'll see here. Generally, the edge won't have any of the reading on there like you see on this example, but this is the error dime and this is a regular dime for comparison. When a Roosevelt dime is broad struck, it comes pretty gosh darn close to the size of a standard Lincoln penny diameter or circumference, or however you want to spin it. It's as big as a Lincoln cent. I've found a few of these in my lifetime. On the minor side, I've found a few of them that are quite strong like this. They are out there, and this is going to be another good one to look out for. This example sold for $15, which again, it's not bad. Some people will look at this and not think anything of it. They'll throw it back. They'll spend it on their next cup of coffee. You get the big idea. All right, we have a few of these actually on the list, and surprisingly, they're coming up raw. Typically, you see a 3-legged buffalo on any day of the week, and more than likely, they should belong into a graded slab. This one, however, is a really nice specimen. This is probably, from an older collector that just didn't give a rip about grading coins. But it's a 37D. That's the date and mint mark you're going to look for the 3-legged buffalo. So as you can see, the front buffalo leg has been over polished a little bit, and that's why it's missing. And that's how this coin got its variety namesake. It's only one of the most popular varieties on the face of the earth of U.S. coinage. These coins have been counterfeited in the past, so you want to make sure you're finding a great example, a legit example. This one is such a high grade that you're able to see some of those surface pebbly textures that is commonplace for this particular coin. You want to make sure those are on there. This coin right here is, the seller calls it about uncirculated. I think it's almost there. I'm thinking like XF45, maybe AU50. It does have some luster. It's more present on the reverse of the coin. But how about this? $929.49 is what this one ultimately sold for. Now, the big talking point coin of the week has got to be this one, because I've never seen this quarter before, a 2000 Philadelphia Maryland State Quarter. Now, I've seen a Maryland State Quarter before, don't get me wrong, but have you guys seen one with this ginormous die break chip thing that's hanging off of his chin? I mean, this thing is massive. I had to take an extra close look at it, and sure enough, it's raised. It's awesome. My dog's even barking out there because he thinks it's awesome as well. This is a coin that I have never personally seen, and that can only conclude to one thing. This thing was caught early when it was being produced. So few of them, I believe, are actually in existence out there and change today. But if you're able to find one, I have good news for you. One example, this one right here, sold here in the last day or so for $85, and that's with 18 bids. There was lots of activity on this coin, and I would encourage you guys, like we've seen on another coin that we're going to talk about later in this particular video, that big die chips, you know, of certain size and certain placement on the coin, you know, these things have been, I would say, overachieving in the marketplace here in the last 6 months. Here's another prime example in which it probably collected just the right amount of money. Of course, it is a die chip. You know, a piece of the die had fallen off. But make sure you guys are keeping an eye out for this. Yeah, the coin is 21 years old, but there's bound to be a few more examples out there today. Again, I've never personally seen this before. Some of you may have through the course of the last 2 decades. Just be sure you're looking out for it because it's real money. Here's our first multi-coin lot. Now, it is only 2 coins, but we have 2 90% Roosevelt silver dimes, a 54 and a 57. And you guys have seen this before. We got 2 curved clips, one on each coin. This one here right smack dab at the 6 o'clock position. This one at 7. Also has, see this little divot right here? That's the Blakesley effect on both coins. So, you know, that's on there. There you go. There's the reverse of the coins as well. I always tell folks that, you know, keep an eye out for larger coin lots of errors or varieties that you know that you could flip and sell on a singular coin basis and try and double your money. I don't think you could do that here quite with this one. It sold for $26, and that's with 11 bids, so there was quite a bit of activity. Now, this is quite nice, and I didn't even know that these existed on the more modern Kennedy half dollars, but we have 2, count them 2, 2002 Philadelphia Kennedy halves with small, tiny collar cuts. Okay, that's right on the collar. The collar is a die because it has the reading on there, and that's ultimately what adds the reading onto the coin as they're being minted. So there can be a break in the collar, and as a result, it'll come up as a little cut. Small one. So we have 1, and we also have 2. So we got 2 different variants, 2 different coins, same date. And as a pair, these sold for $21.99. At face value, they look relatively minor. But, you know, when you put 2 of them together on the lot, you describe them really well. You take good pictures. And the pictures are decent. There's a little bit of out of focus factor with these 2 coins. But overall, you know what you're getting. And because of that, this seller was able to make $22 off of both coins. Well done. Now, grade doesn't mean squat when it comes to varieties and errors. Case in point, 1953D. Lincoln Wheat Cent does not look like a really beautiful coin, but this one is worth a few shekels. And if you're able to find one, I'm happy to say that you can take advantage of it and just sell it. Very seldom does anyone want to keep a coin like this. You know, you sell it and you afford something that's much better, but this is a D over D RPM. This is actually RPM number 2 on Variety Vista. So, you know, if you wanted to look for this, it's a very strong The secondary D is west of the primary D, as you can see right here. Yeah, employee, these things are punched with a long, thin shafted punch with a hammer, and sometimes you miss the mark and you have to kind of shift a little bit and then retap it. So that's what a repunchment mark is. This one sold for $9.50. Again, keep in mind the grade. Now here's the other three-legged buffalo that did sell here in the last 24 hours. Another 37D. This one not in quite the best of shapes. It's got more circulation wear. It looks problem-free. This one I would say is probably more along the line of a VF20 or VF25, whereas the previous example is like double the grade, maybe AU50. This one right here, again, is another one to look out for. You're going to want to look for the pebbly surface, which this one does have right here under the black diamond belly. But all in all, this is just a pleasing example. Sold for $629.99, and it is quite problem-free. 1928 Lincoln Wheat Cent. All right, this is a Philadelphia minted coin, rather common in low grades, but this one right here, ladies and gentlemen, has some pretty gnarly stuff going on with it. As you can see, it's got some previous detached lamination areas that had recirculated over time, but you can actually see a little bit of that right here on the date. All right, so it's still got a retained lamination piece. This one sold for $12.95, and that's with 2 bids. Here's a 2003 Lincoln Memorial Cents. Keep an eye out for some of these from the early 2000s. These are actually neat. This one has a little bit of a die chip here on the reverse in one of these Lincoln Memorial bays. And these are referred to as Beehive Dye Chips. Okay, they can exist in the actual bays themselves, or they could be anywhere outside of the building, but still attached to the building. We've seen it with the Jefferson Nickels here lately. But this one's really neat. Collectors like to pick these up and collect them by die progression. So they'll start out as really tiny little chips, and then they grow bigger. And, it's a kind of a fun part of the hobby when you can do that. This one right here is sold for $4.99. So that's not bad. That's 500 times face. All right, brand new 2021 Lincoln Shield Set. This one is looks to be off-center, if not maybe a partial tilted collar. But you can see just how much offset it is right here, or off-center rather, of this coin. Yeah, brand new coins are not immune to mint errors. We've seen that here in the last year and a half. This particular example sold for a staggering $17.45. Here's another one of those beehives, this time on a 2006 Lincoln Memorial. Check that one out. That one's actually a little bit bigger than the previous example. It's a decent red example. It doesn't have a whole lot of distracting carbon spots or anything, gashes, nothing to that effect. This one realized $11.11. I believe this was the listing where the seller had added like a bonus coin to it, but it's really nothing like to write home to mother about. A lot of the appeal with this one is that Beehive die chip. Here's another one of those pretty off-center struck coins. This time, again, one of the more tougher dates to find. It's a 1987 P Washington quarter. This one is about off-center around 10%, give or take. And the coin is lustrous, from what I could see. It was actually photographed in a 2x2 holder. Guys, I'm telling you, these things are not worth holding on to. If you're going to sacrifice image quality, take them out of the holder and take really good, proper photo. You might even get better results on your sale by doing that. This one sold for $56.19. When you get into some of the more tougher dates of off-center struck coins, whether they're Washington quarters, Kennedy half dollars, Roosevelt dimes, pennies, nickels, you name it, they're going to command more money because people do collect these by date. Here's another lot. This time we have a pair of 2000 Lincoln Memorials. This time we have one that is off-center by about 15% with a full date. That's nice. And we also have a mildly broad-struck example as well. That's the coin on the right-hand side there. Both examples are in pretty nice shape. I don't see any sort of deterioration or zinc rot as a result of their error types. On the reverse, you could see that maybe the broad-struck example has a nice sized carbon spot, as you could see there on the left side of the memorial. But aside from that, this is a really nice pair of coins, and this sold for $17.50. So the next two listings I'm going to talk about are actually really, really well circulated Statehood Quarters. Now, I've talked about the viability of Statehood Quarter errors out there today. They're just really non-existent. You don't see a lot of them, especially in some of the earlier dates when the Mint really did care about quality controls, because this was a big Kickstarter program that they had launched in 1999. So this is a Connecticut. It's a 1999 P, and as you can see, it is also slightly off-center or maybe a little bit broad-struck. It's a negligible kind of percentage, 5% or less. So it could fall either way on the type of error. It's pretty well circulated, as you can see. One of my favorite designs, by the way. And this sold for $16.74. We also have a Pennsylvania, although this one's a Denver minted example. Same type of error, kind of like an uncentered broad strike. Coin's been circulated, and this one also did sell for $16.74. Denver, tough, tough to find mint errors from this particular mint facility. Now, this is a coin that, realistically, you could cherry pick for about 50 cents to $1. I mean, we all know, and we've all been through the cheap little bin of Buffalo nickels and Liberty heads. And, a coin dealer, generally, sometimes they'll give them away for free. You buy other things, they'll give that coin away for free. But this is another good example of a coin that you should look for, because the dealers don't care about these. It's a 1910 Liberty head. It's got a few letters and Liberty right here. So that makes it like a VG8, somewhere around there. But on the reverse, it does have a detached lamination swath right there, and that's exactly what we see. This one sold for $9.95. That's not a bad flip, so keep an eye out for stuff like this as well. All right, so this has become one of my favorite modern errors. All right, the crown die chip progression that you see on the Washington crossing the Delaware quarters. They're all 2021, and they only show up on the Philadelphia minted examples. Now, this is a different size type, progression, what have you. It's not nearly like the full crown that you've seen in some of my previous episodes, where it's actually gone and cut into E pluribus unum. All right, those are the much more desirable ones, and those are quite healthy in the marketplace today. But this one, because it is a progression piece, again, you should not ignore these. Pull them out. You keep one for yourself, sell the rest, and this one sold for $6. So if you came across rolls of these and you have like 50 of them, I mean, that's $300, right? You're not going to not take advantage of that. All right, I mean, this is only one of the biggest double dies on the face of the earth. It's a 1972. We've seen a few of these here in the last few weeks, raw, ungraded. Here's a Mint State Brown example. You can just see how crazy the doubling is in the motto and in Liberty. And then also the date. I mean, you have a really nice trifecta of doubling at, diagnostical areas on this one. Pictures aren't great. I mean, that Obverse picture is the best, but the reverse picture is way out of focus. This is also the FS 101 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. And it sold for $333.17. And that's through 49 bids. So there were a lot of people with their eyes on this one. All right, we don't talk about large cents that often, but I figure, hey, let's make it fun. We'll throw one in here because this is like a modern mint error that, we've seen quite often. But it's a 1854 braided hair large cent with a clip And you can see that here. Same thing rings true. This is more of a straight clip. All right, but it also has that Blakesley effect on the opposite edge. So even the older stuff that's 170 years old still has those same things to look out for. This one sold for $36.99. Here's a really nice pair of Washington quarter errors. They're both actually 1995P, and boy, are they nice. These things are mid-state, very lustrous, lots and lots of cartwheel on there. The top example is off-center by about 10%. The bottom example is off-center by about 15 to 20. So we have two very drastic looking coins here with full dates and mint marks that can be seen. And beautiful. These two coins as a lot sold for $65. So that's a really, really good one. Here's a 1999 Lincoln Memorial Cent. This one, much like the dime that we saw earlier in the show, is broad struck. All right, so this one right here is way, way broad struck. This one is probably about the size of a nickel, if not slightly larger. That's how big it flattened out and pancaked out with all sorts of metal flow. As you can see, there's a lot of exposed zinc. Okay, that's kind of par for the course, considering that the copper plating is very thin on these type of coins. So storage is everything. Obviously, if you're going to buy up an example, make sure that that it's pretty clean like this. For the most part, I'd say there's more of the, there is fingerprints on the Obverse, so maybe this might not be the marquee example to kind of hold on to. This one right here sold for $24.45, just because it's really well centered and it's big. Here's another coin to cherry pick out of a dealer lot. All right, it's an 1863. They call these white cents because they were copper nickel and they were much fatter than a traditional Indian head cent. But check out the reverse. Look at that big old gnarly thing at the 12 o'clock position. The K12 cud is what I like to call it. That's partially covering that shield. Very cool coin. I found one of these a long time ago that's probably in much worse shape than this, but I'm glad to at least see this one on here, and even more glad to know that it sold for $39.99 for a coin that obviously you would have bought for $2 or $3. So that is one heck of a flip. And yeah, again, Indian head cent errors exist in all shapes, forms, and fashions, and quite a bit. We're down to our last 3 or 4 coins, and they're all quite spicy. How about 1993 Lincoln Memorial Cent? This one is double struck. All right, so you have the one primary strike that looks great. It's well centered. It's on there. It looks within tolerances. And then you have that other secondary strike that's about 90% off center. It has the word Liberty. It is a uniface. You know, there's no design on the reverse of that secondary strike. But all in all, it's a decent condition coin. This one sold for $49.45. Here's another interesting one. We have a 2000 P Jefferson Nickel. Now this one right here is a partial collar. So it's got the tilted collar action, but it also has a partial brockage on the obverse, as you can see. Just a very unique coin. I can't even believe that this thing is not in a graded slab because most brockages are. But this one, again, is in great shape. Nice mid-state example. I could tell that it's all original. It's got luster. And it was probably found really early on. All right. And the fact that it has like full steps says a lot as well. This is a really nice looking coin. This one right here, through 3 bids, sold for $48.01. Now, the last 2 listings are going to be coins sold by Mr. Fred Weinberg. He's actually the guy that consigned the, how do I say this gently, the cricket on Great Collections. That's the video I had showed you guys a few weeks ago. So it's being consigned at Great Collections. The thing is like up to like $3,000 or something like that, with, you know, some time left. But this, there is a few listings from Fred Weinberg. He's actually one of the renowned, known error specialists. He's owned some of the biggest coins on the face of the earth. So he had a few kind of what I consider to be more minor listings. We have a 1973D Lincoln Memorial Cent. This thing is off-center by about 65%, give or take. The coin is in pretty good shape. Again, a tough date, very key to the series of error off-center strike collecting, I'm sure, because it's Denver. And this one through, let's see, 15 bids, sold for $24.50. Really nice coin. And the final one of the week is one that is quite subtle, but it's all there, believe me. It's a 1945S, a much older coin. It's got a nice mid-state red-brown appearance to it. But yeah, if you guess that this one is indeed a broad-struck coin, then you are correct. That's exactly what we have here. So you can just see the coin is a lot bigger, and it's cupped, around most 2/3, somewhere around 2/3 of the edge. But another great piece from Fred Weinberg. You just don't see some of the earlier broad strikes that often. And when you do, they get scooped up pretty quickly. This one sold for $30, and that's with 9 bids altogether. So Fred Weinberg had a few listings here in the last 24 hours, and there were people paying attention to them. There were some other ones as well. But these are kind of like my 2 favorites, and we're going to talk about them, and we did. But that's going to go ahead and do it for you. Hopefully you got a little bit of inspiration, a little midweek inspiration for your future cherry picking and coin roll hunting desires. There's a lot of great stuff to be found. Keep in mind that as the holidays approach, people do need the money. And people are looking to add to their collections as collectors and investors and dealers have come back into the hobby after a long summer. But that's it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I would love to hear your thoughts. What's your favorite coin out of the bunch today? Would love to really hear about it. Don't forget to like, share, or subscribe to my channel. And hit the dislike button if you don't. That's going to go ahead and do it. Coinaholics, we are discovering together. You guys take care. Best of luck in your hunts. And I will see you on the next coin video. So long.